Hello and welcome to TechyChats, the space to listen and learn from our inspiring guests in tech, from their journey into tech to what their role is about. The digital industry is ever growing and ever changing. I am your host, Rachel Skelton, and I am joined today by Dr Kulvinder Panesar, Lecturer of Applied Artificial Intelligence at the University of Bradford. So Kulvinder has been in academia for over 2 decades and is a strategically focused senior computing professional with digital transformation insights. Multidisciplinary research spans artificial intelligence, agent thinking, linguistic theory, computational linguistics and natural language processing, knowledge representation, and reasoning frameworks. She has conceptually designed and developed a linguistically text-based conversational software agent framework, addressing the integration, intersection, and interface of language, knowledge, and speech act constructions with some published articles. Her current research interest involves investigating a hybrid conversational AI solution with linguistic natural language processing and statistical natural language processing learning and support. Her teaching interests align with her research interests, but particularly project-based work aligned to applied AI solutions. She is an MBSc, MBCS even, member of the British Computing Society and an AI ambassador for AI Tech North and a We Are Tech Women 100 2019 winner. I am over the moon to have Kulvinder join us on TechyChats today, because not only is Dr. Kulvinder a lecturer of applied artificial intelligence, but also a STEM and AI ambassador, a computer scientist, a programmer, project manager, mentor, and a public speaker with lightning talks on motivational, own research, and AI awareness. So, welcome to TechyChats, Kulvinder. And these are just some of the hats that you wear. Please tell us more about yourself and what you do.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm absolutely, gutted and honoured to be here, and thank you for sort of reaching out to me as well in doing this chat. So the crazy, it's quite crazy having so many hats on, but I think it's because of the fact that I think over the years you start to become quite adaptable to the different things that come your way, and that is how I've managed to become have these different hats. So at the moment I'm I'm currently trying to do some marketing work, which is something that I hadn't done before. So and at the same time trying to be a host for a research seminar series at the university as well, which again aligns with some of the things that I've done. So I think it's the jobs that you have to do and you just embrace them and take them on. And behind the scenes I'm trying to do some research work as well, but that's the way it goes. It's what's necessary at the time, and make sure that I keep myself going, keep all the hats on at one point, because they're all necessary as well in some of those collective things that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I found, especially in tech, it's kind of, you have to have many hats. You can't really just have one or two. It's a completely different industry to other industries where people may only wear one hat. It's kind of a necessity to do that. Do you think that it's like a necessity to have many hats in tech?
I think so, because I think the main thing is that you've got all those, you've actually got your technical skills, but then you've got all those business soft skills, as Natasha, as Natasha from, the ex-head of technology of Sky had mentioned. We need these skills, these soft skills as well, and all of these different, these skills make you well-rounded, and that helps you. And it's necessary for the jobs that we have, to have these different hats. So I think it's more about us becoming well-rounded. We will always have different hats, and our jobs are so versatile in their nature as we're moving forward with the technology space.
Absolutely. So will you tell us more about the role that you do as a lecturer of AI? I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay, so as a lecturate, there's a lot of teaching work involved, obviously preparation as well, and obviously delivery. And then as part of that delivery, you know, there's so much in terms of obviously engagement with students and getting them to understand what they like about that aspect of tech, that aspect of AI as well, and getting students to work on stuff that, especially when it comes from the project perspective, obviously work on those areas that they enjoy. But my job, I think, when it comes to AI, it's so changing. It's a changing field. So keeping up to date is one of the biggest things. So that helps in terms of being useful over many fronts. So I do research on AI for my teaching. I'll do research on AI for my own research, for helping with AI Tech North as well. So the whole finding out about the subject is a constant thing, and that really helps me, you know, deliver or do my job as well. Now, obviously, at the same point, you know, keeping that marketing information, you know, from a marketing perspective, making sure that the AI is where it is at the moment, and make sure that, you know, the audience know that, you know, this is where you are coming from, and this is where your course is coming from, as opposed to the big wide world, and in terms of all the big and fantastic things which are going on. But we have to be real with the examples and what you know, what you actually get students to do as well.
Oh, great. So will you tell us more about your role with AI Tech North as well?
Okay. So that actually evolved, you know, just from a chat actually, and then obviously attending the first summit as well. So I actually, you know, just became part of the core team first, you know, part of the core team, and then the roles just sort of just sat on our laps to some extent, and you know, as the speaker manager, what I found was I was trying to find speakers for our events, with the core team as well, and that required, you know, having to, you know, search LinkedIn, introduce myself, and really get people to understand that, you know, what the vision of the company is, as you would do with any sort of any sort of framework like AI Tech North, which is a not-for-charity organization, where it's about trying to disseminate, you know, AI, disseminate and share AI technologies, technology information, AI where it is at the moment, especially when it comes to the ethics side as well. So my role was to really find people and then have chats with them to work out what story they would tell when they would attend these events. So I worked with the core team, with some of the marketing people, you know, the whole core team itself, without going to the finer details. So I think that was ongoing, constantly ongoing, and it had loads of overlaps with what I was needing to do in terms of, you know, finding out where I was at the moment. So it was great because it fitted all, it sort of ticked all my boxes at the same time.
That's really awesome. So how did you get into AI in the first place? I'm really interested in like how you got here and your journey in tech.
Okay, so I was I mean, I've been a geek since I was about 13, 14. So my big brother was an IT Unix consultant at that time, and he just brought home a ZX81, and at that time I was learning maths and stuff, and I was absolutely fascinated that I could take a quadratic equation, that's ax squared plus bx plus c, and I could write some code for it on this ZX, you know, type it in, and I would put any numbers in and I would get some results, and I could dry run them myself and I could get the answers as well. And I was so fascinated with that. So I did my GCSE computer science, I did my A-level computer science, and then and maths and economics as well. Now, one really crazy thing that happened at that time, I look back and it was quite crazy, because I actually got a job at Apple, and I lived in Birmingham at that time. And one of the adversities I've had is that my dad was quite orthodox, and in the sense that he didn't believe that women should work or study, for that matter, at that time. And but it was my brother who was doing so well in tech, and you know, and at that time he was really doing well. and he was saying no, he you know, he made sure that I applied to university, which I did. I went to Wolverhampton Polytechnic, and what I found, what he said was that, you know, girls should have equal opportunities. So I went to university, and what it was that when I did my computer, you know, I did my full applied sciences, computer science and mathematics. That was the specialism that I chose. But I did have but then what happens is that, you know, you've got this graduate computer science experience that's way above everybody else, you know, and you basically can't get a job. Yeah, and then the recession turned in. This is into the 90s, and so I moved up to Leeds, and then one thing led to the other. I did a master's, and then I basically did a programming contract where I did everything about programming and training. So it was a contract where you know, it was so versatile, and that's what I like about jobs where there's variety. So I did some training, I did some programming, I basically solved some of their day-to-day problems. I was a support person, everything that computer science or computing means, and then I loved that. Then I had my in that time I had my first child, and then I got a job as a lecturing post at a HE and FE institution, and then I had my second baby there, and then what I did was I decided that, again, I've kept up to date with everything, and then I'm learning so much, but the thing is, you know, I don't use it in my day job at all. So I did a part-time PhD, and that's when it was my PhD where I obviously got into AI. I didn't realize that my PhD that I had chosen was so much of AI, even though I knew the roots of AI. I didn't realize how much I was spilling into this domain, and my topic of interest that I had at that time, nobody understood it at that time, and it was exactly what it is today, conversational AI. At that time, it was trying to make sure that we could have conversation, and I was working on it from a point of view that, you know, there was, you know, we were looking at what human intelligence means as well, and trying to you know, sort of, you know, conceptualize human intelligence and build, and there was exciting parts of that which I worked on in a part-time PhD over 7 years whilst doing a full-time job, and you know, and to this day I'm working on the next stages of what I did from that PhD, as well as you know, keeping up to date with what's moved on in my field as well. After 2 years, once I've finished, my field has actually exploded. Natural language processing has exploded from a statistical point of view, and I'm suddenly come to the point where, God, there's so much which is out there, but I still, which I've caught up with now in 2020. I caught up. I'm at the point where now I've got a new starting point with all my background, where I've got loads of exciting ideas that I can put forward into papers, and I'm working on various collaborations. So that's my next stage, where I'd like to collaborate about my AI sort of area.
Wow, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. But yeah, tech just moves so quickly. Yeah. So quickly. So what's your favorite part of your role within like artificial intelligence?
I think it's probably the main, I would say, I have this, you know, this intellectual curiosity, I think, drives me to wanting to understand things, and then being able to talk to different audiences and explain those exciting concepts and stuff. So I really get a lot of satisfaction in teaching and training and explaining things. So I think that part I really enjoy, and that obviously builds my inner confidence to say, well, okay, where can I take this, and what can, you know, where can this lead to, and I'll always, and I've got this passion in the area where I've always wanted to, you know what's next and what's new, and that's probably the main thing that gives me a buzz, really.
That's fab. And what would you say the biggest challenges of your role is then?
I think, you know, something, it's keeping up to date is the biggest thing. So it's about saying, okay, so I have, at one point I would, in computer science was massive. AI has become even massive. And what I've decided is that is basically say, well, okay, computer vision, I get it, but I'm not going to go into the research of that because I need to stick on my area. So that's the biggest, is being able to close the door on a few topics and say, and keep it there, keep it open a little bit to say, well, I might need to have knowledge of it because I need to work with this person, or I need, you know, that sort of thing. But closing the door on a couple of areas to focus on there, that is my biggest challenge, where I still think I should really know this, or I should use it, or it could be used, or I could, you know, use it in different ways. But yeah, that is my biggest challenge, and really just trying to fit in all the extra things you know, that are interesting, because now we can do everything virtually. Before, we obviously needed to attend, you know, I attended, you know, a conference in Granada last year, and the year before was in Dublin. I've been to a couple of places, you know, in Germany to present, and they were so exciting, the whole event, you know, the setup and the meeting and the greeting. But virtually, you know, the world is your oyster. You can tap into any conference on any topic, and you know, those who have adapted, obviously, and you're part of that world already, and you're there with and you're not having to find out about it 3 or 4 months later when it seeped through the communications, yeah, which is what used to happen before. But now we know about, you know, something in New York that's happening, and you can tap into it and you can sign up, and it's a decision about virtually free, or is it virtually with some funds, and that's the decision that you also need to make. But that now is like, what do I, you know, what shall I tap into, and what shall I not, because it's not going to give me any value, or it's going to be, it's something that I might need later. Yeah, let's not do it now. So that's the challenge, is it's picking and choosing what's working.
I find that actually one of my biggest challenges, like overall, it's like there's so much exciting things like going on, and being in tech, you're always intrigued in pretty much anything that's technical, really, and because it's so ever changing, growing, and new things are popping up all the time, it's so hard to just be like, okay, I need to focus on one thing or a couple of things. I definitely feel that struggle too. So you mentioned the keeping up with things and being on top of things. Do you ever get imposter syndrome?
Oh yes, many a times. I've had it at various points. So when I started my first job at the HE and FE, I did have that. And what I set myself a goal, that, okay, by January, okay, if I've managed X, Y, and Z, you know, something, that's it, I've made it. Yeah, I've smashed it, you know, and that was the way. So I sort of had it, and then occasionally over the years, it does step in when I'm in a new environment, and I think because it's such a male-dominated environment, sometimes it's a case that, okay, you know, yes, I can be, you know, I'm just as smart as these people, but then it comes in. But then over, you know, the last couple of years, I've really sort of, really pushed myself to say, well, you know, something, you know, I think, you know, I believe I have, you know, the talent to do X, Y, and Z. Now, if I have the belief, then I shouldn't let that kick in. And it's a mind game that we play with ourselves. We really do. And I sort of have worked on that a lot and reflected on that. What is it that I am? What is it that I actually fear? And so I think that self-reflection is actually absolutely key. Not to say that I might not have imposter. So I think it might be a new domain. You know, doing a panel discussion with a topic area that, you know, that's not my main topic area, might give me a little bit of an imposter syndrome. Yeah, but yet I feel, you know, but then I think at the same time, it's something that you work with, and you sort of, you know, you sort of working in tiny steps to say, well, actually, you know, I get this, you know, it has to go away, you know, so you force yourself to do that. So yes, it is something and I think it, you know, I'm not saying that I won't have it in the future, because you know, you're gonna be in new spaces, and you've got to let yourself go into new spaces as well. But it's the approach of it, is that not let it rule you at all.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing like your tips with dealing with imposter syndrome. I think it's really easy to kind of find yourself with the imposter syndrome bug on your shoulder, like creeping over, especially when you're discovering new things. You can go to a conference and suddenly there's a whole new concept of something and you're like, oh no, I don't know it. Should I be here? Because there's a lot of people in tech that struggle with imposter syndrome. So that was really helpful. What would your advice be for anyone who would like to work in the area of artificial intelligence? What could they go look for or look at? Advice around that?
Okay, so I mean, I was thinking about, you know, the roles, and I think first of all it's a passion. Yeah, you got to have the passion for, you know, AI, computer science, you know, especially because, you know, computer science, first of all, the fact that, you know, what can you do with the technology, yeah, and then AI obviously takes it into the next dimension, that we're, you know, we're looking at intelligence, you know, looking at trying to move forward with, you know, trying to guess, you know, working towards trying to mimic sort of human intelligence. So that passion, first of all, is absolutely key. What I would say is, first of all, look at something called, what I call technology fit, first of all. So see how you fit with the technology, and try and build the skills first of all, and then go what I call the technology support skills, is when you start fitting, yeah, but then you've got to have the support to get yourself ready. Yeah, so you fit is good, but your support, and then that would be another, it's almost like a stage process, because some people have got the passion but don't know how to get in. So first of all, get your fit, and then get your support. Now, all sorts of different things are like going into meetups. I mean, for myself, what I did was I got a mentor. Yeah, because I realized that, you know, this imposter syndrome occasionally kicked in and the confidence levels weren't there. And I think the mentor just made it, you know, was just listened and realized that actually it's about just doing a couple of different things, about building your personal brand, first of all, because if you build your personal brand, you actually know who you are. Yeah, you know who you are, and if at the same time, you know, you want to get this job, what I would suggest is look at the personality type of that job, and say if it requires you to be a little bit more extrovert, I would sort of reverse engineer and say, well, what are the different things that I can do to be a little bit more extrovert? Yeah, for instance, going to a meetup and obviously participating, then asking questions on, and I would say do that in stages. Ask questions on topics which you're familiar with, then ask topics that you understand, that you've unfamiliar topics that you begin to understand and yet you're curious about, and then topics where, you know, they're completely new, but you're just curious. Yeah. So I think there's a stage process where you build your confidence, you know, you know, for that particular example of being extrovert. So this reverse engineering will also help you. So there's a couple of things, and getting a mentor as well through the Empowering Women in Technology, you know, being a mentor and a mentee, yeah, was great. You know, because I could see it on the other end as well, as to, you know, what it would, you know, where, how do the mentees, you know, what position can they actually be compared to myself as well. So that was that. There's a whole host of things that you know, come under that, but building your personal brand and knowing where you fit at the moment and what you need to support you. Yeah.
A fun question. If you had infinite resources, what is the biggest problem you would solve?
Okay, you know something, there's loads of things, but I think one of the things that I found was whilst I was teaching, I found that students obviously came from international countries as well. So one of the things that that I really touched me when you do work with students who are working on projects was trying to introduce, you know, Wi-Fi or technology to those underdeveloped countries. So I think that's somewhere where obviously you want to democratize and educate and use technology as a tool and not something that's going to be harmful in any way. Obviously from a job point of view, that, you know, that's something that would obviously be really would not be an issue at that point for those particular countries. So I would do that, because I do really feel that we are so lucky, so lucky, and we should be so grateful that, you know, we've got so much and, you know, at our tips, you know, whereas there's a fraction of the world where they don't have, you know, what we have, and they don't even have the opportunity to think it, because it's not in their reach. So that's and the other one is obviously in my area of conversational AI, because if I don't know whether you know, but there's a film called a 2014 film called Ex Machina. And in there, Ava's an intelligent, advanced humanoid. Now, part of that taps into my work of knowledge and about natural language and about interfacing and conversation, and the fact that we have a mind, we have a conscience, and that film, it's like, if I could join forces with the big 5 companies and I could lead on one of the projects and do something exciting like that, and then we work towards making Eva out of coming out in the early 2030s or something like that, where she's absolutely utopian sort of intelligent. I don't know, that would be exciting, but I do know that is, we've got the films and we've got all this, we've got a lot of people doing a lot of work on virtual humans, going on, and virtual humanoids, and that would be an exciting space. Whereas my area in conversation, we're trying to work on it's a really tricky area, and that's why it's not solved. Yeah, and those little steps that everybody's trying to make, and that's what's exciting about it. So yeah, having funds, extortionate amount of funds, really to delve into it. I'm sure somebody is doing it somewhere.
Huge project like that'd be really awesome.
Yeah, but we wouldn't want them to, because they've got a lot of real jobs to do at the same real solutions to build as well. That mean that are right for businesses and people as well. So we need to make sure that the correct the strategies that they're going to work on are going to align with where they need to. Yeah, definitely. We can't. Yeah, it was just for fun, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. You're an AI ambassador for AI Tech North, and you also do talks there, is that right? You've done some lightning talks and things.
I've done some lightning talks through the meetups, and I'll do, I've done some talks through the meetups, definitely. Through that, I'm more of a speaker, manager, host, and we have little mini little sort of times when we'll get together and discuss things as well. Yeah, so that's basically. Do I do some talks there? No, I haven't done any talks, because I'm on the other end.
Fair enough, behind the camera as such.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So is there anything else you want to chat about in terms of what's going on at the moment, or what you're doing, any events coming up, things like that?
Any events? Actually, the main thing I would suggest is really just keep believing that you can. If you believe, I think that's half of the process done, really. And the other thing is, I've over the years, we're talking about this journey, and I think it's about enjoying the journey, not I need to be there or I need to be there. And I think I've had some exciting things, and I think that's the way it should be. Really enjoy the journey, because that's where you get your reflections, and that's how you move forward, and you're living in the moment as well. So keep self-reflecting all the time. And I think that's number one.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely love that. That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us on TechyChats. I just want to mention, if you want to find Dr. Kulvinder, please go follow her on Twitter, KK Panesar. Lovely. And also we can find you on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, brilliant. So thank you so much for joining us again. Honestly, it's been absolutely wonderful to have you.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's exciting because we're both in tech, and seeing it from different viewpoints as well. It's so great as well. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you.